We're fortunate to have Diane Mooney. Diane is the director of the U.S. Export Assistance Center here in Seattle. She's worked for the U.S. Department of Commerce for over 20 years, worked for the Washington Department of Commerce for 7 years before that. If you're not aware, her office and team here is responsible for helping businesses in the Northwest, especially in Puget Sound, with U.S. government export promotion services, with a special focus on small and medium-sized companies in Western Washington, which is the vast majority of companies in Western Washington. So you can read the rest of her bio in your packet. Please join me in welcoming Diane Mooney.
Here I am. Good afternoon. Thank you for sticking with us here at the end of the afternoon. I am going to talk to you this afternoon about help us pursue export, and we want you to do that legally with the rules and the regulations, which you've heard a lot about already. So luckily, I'm not going to talk too much about them, not only because I'm not the expert like the rest of our speakers have been, but because I work on the fun international side of the U.S. Department of Commerce. No offense to Adam, as opposed to the guns and badges and rules and regs side of the organization. So, for my 10 minutes or so.
Guns and badges are not fun.
Well, it depends on who you're asking. I don't know, my kids would think the guns and badges are fun, but I'm not a guns and badges kind of person. So there you have it. I am going to focus on the opportunities part of our conference, our seminar today. But with that said, I'm also going to be a little bit of a jack of all trades because I have a couple slides about who we are and what we do and exporting. But today I'm also Canada because my colleagues from the U.S. Embassy were not able to make it. And I'm going to be using Canada as a snapshot of one of our markets of opportunity and provide a little bit more detail about Canada as well. So with that said, let me just, oh wow, they kind of paginate a little bit differently here. In any case, so the U.S. Department of Commerce, U.S. Commercial Service is the lead export promotion agency of the U.S. Department of Commerce. We have people all over the United States in 49 of the 50 states. Which one, you ask, doesn't get one of us? It's Wyoming. I don't know why. And then from any day to day, that 75 countries will change, but we have a lot of offices overseas. We do not offer export promotion in Cuba, and we don't offer it in Iran. We don't have offices there ourselves. As a matter of fact, I got a little bit of angst from our Office of General Counsel to see my name on a seminar that includes Iran and Cuba because, fun fact, we are actually, the export promotion side people, are prohibited from offering export promotion advice for Iran and Cuba, which is why, we go back to my first slide, which says know your network. This is why it's very important for me to know my network as well and to know you people in the audience who actually can provide those export promotion services, because I do work with a company here locally who is actually having some success in Iran, in the aerospace space, and but I just can't help it. So it's good to know all of you guys. In any case, we are here to help companies export. We want to work with everybody. We do that in a number of ways. We want to, see that comes up a little bit differently on the screen. We want to help you, we want to assess your export readiness. So my office works with established exporters only. There is another infrastructure in place here to work with new to export companies. They are equally as important. My office is just not well positioned to help new to export companies. We want to help you identify key markets. My specialty is in aerospace and defense, and for you guys who are in the aerospace and defense sector, you guys already know your markets. I very rarely sit down with one of you and have to go through an assessment that tells us where the markets are, so I feel very lucky. But if you are a manufacturer of hair bullets or medical devices or something where you could be exporting anywhere, we do sit down with you and help you identify those key markets, determine if there's a sales potential and what those sales channels might be, and then we want to implement an export plan with you. So there's a peek at my audience, or at my office right here. As I mentioned, I work in aerospace and defense, and by default have become the export controls nerd in the office. So I know just enough to provide basic advice, and then I know just enough of you guys to help close the loop with the companies that I work with. Big fan of professional services in this area because yes, you can do it yourself. You can look at the list, you can fill out your own paperwork, but not that it's required, but I always appreciate if my companies work with a little bit of extra help. Also in my office we have, for those of you who don't work with us, Bob Dean in the healthcare and wood product sector, and I'm just mentioning the major sectors we work in. We work in all sectors, but these are the sectors that are economically important to the state of Washington, so my office reflects that. I have Karen Taylor, who works in the energy, environment, agribusiness, and that's processed foods and wine for us. And then marine technology, Sam Selming, who's in the ICT and safety and security and automotive sectors. Young O, who works with advanced manufacturing, education services, and consumer goods. And for those of you who are in Eastern Washington, or we're east of the mountains, we have an office in Spokane with Janet Bauermeister, who works in all sectors. And just call me. My contact information is at the end, and I will make sure you get to the right person. I don't expect you to figure out, you don't have to figure out who to go to. So a quick snapshot about what we want to do with you guys to help you export, and that is we offer trade counseling. What does that mean? It means that I come to your business because I want to see, touch, and feel what you guys do. I want to make sure you're a real business. We get inquiries from our offices all over the world saying, hey Diane, this is a P.O. box. Are there really a drone manufacturer as well? And I will go, oh no, that's a P.O. box in Fife. That is not a drone manufacturer. Do not let them sell to the Turkish Aeronautical University. Sorry if you guys are here, that actually happened. So we're going to sit down with you at your place of business and understand what it is that you do. For me, that includes usually a little bit about export controls because I'm sort of the downer around here. Post 9/11, many of you guys in the aerospace and defense sector did not know what export controls were. You didn't know what BIS was. You didn't know what the ITAR was. You'd never heard of OFAC. And so for the last 10 years plus of my career, I've been walking into companies and letting them know they're doing something wrong. That makes me not I smile when I do it, but I'm not well liked when I walk in and say, gosh, you got to do some of these things. Now that's changed. I think in our area here, we've become a lot more mature of an exporting community, and I'm proud to have been a part of that. Companies now know a lot more than they did, post 9/11. But we'll sit down and talk to you about any sort of legal or regulatory issues that you might have depending on what you're doing. Medical device people, can you sell reused and reconditioned medical equipment in Japan? Well, you can't. So these are the kinds of things that we want to sit down and do with you. We will also talk about market intelligence, and when we get to the Canada portion, when I change hats a little bit, we'll see what kind of wealth of information is available to help you export. So we have a lot of that. We have a lot of information and programs to help you do your due diligence. We have a lot of trade data out there for you guys who like to crunch numbers and look at that. I know Tim had a little bit of our, 4%, and these are the countries, and that kind of data is out there for you guys, and that's certainly that's good to help you guys export. Our sweet spot is number 3, business matchmaking. We do this well. I'm not going to lie. I will brag. The U.S. Commercial Service specializes in business-to-business matchmaking through whatever form that might take. It may take one-on-one appointments overseas where you say, hey, guy, I'm going to be in Turkey for a day, and will you set me up with all these appointments? And the embassy in Ankara, our office, will do that for you. We do, full disclosure, charge you for these things. We might send you to a trade show where we'll have a whole bunch of either buyers there or we'll have our own people there. We'll do some matchmaking. You tell us you're looking for an end user, you're looking for a direct sale, you're looking for a representative. This is something that we do really well, and we encourage you to take part in anything that will result in that, like a trade mission or other sorts of partner opportunities. And the last thing, which I won't really spend much time on unless you're Boeing, really is commercial diplomacy. We will work with you, even small companies too, to make sure that when you're engaging in government-to-government sales, we can't do it in business, but government-to-government sales, that we go in with a Buy USA, Buy America, or hopefully if you're the only bidder, buy from XYZ company. Wow, that went by quick. I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about Canada, and why, you ask, am I talking about Canada today? We had hoped to have our office, our aerospace specialist from our office in Montreal. Her name is Gina Bento, and her information is at the end of this as well, to talk about trends, opportunities in Canada's aerospace market. Now, this could be any market in any sector. I just want to underscore that for you because I know you're not all aerospace and defense companies, but we have a wealth of data available, and we have a wealth of markets available, and we could do this in any country for any sector. But there's really 4 important takeaways that she wanted me to leave with you today. Now, she gave me 27 or 32 slides in which to do that. I chose 4, so we're going to run through these pretty quickly. That's a lot of information, but here, I'm going to distill it into 4 things for you. First of all, in Canada, 80% of the market is civil. It's civil aviation. It's highly concentrated in the Quebec and Ontario region. It really says that in there. Canada, and this is where it's important for you when we're talking about export controls, exports about 80% of its production. So U.S. companies exporting ITAR goods need to be prepared for the re-exporting licenses, which I'm sure you guys touched on. Sorry, I was late today. And the market is super open to U.S. products because they're very quality and reliability conscious. And that just looks horrible. But trust me, the 4 things are the things that really I wanted to focus on today. Canada is home to all the big players, and these are all names that you recognize and names that you know. The industry as itself, as I mentioned, is really concentrated in the eastern provinces, Ontario, Quebec, Montreal, but they also have a little bit of the MRO business in the western part of Canada as well. And let's see, moving on. Oh, there's a little bit of snapshot of what we look for in aerospace and in the MRO sector. It's like I said, it's heavily concentrated on aerospace, not on the defense side. So if you're looking to go into Canada, these are the things that are true of any mature export market that you might be looking at. As such, certifications are super important, your quality control and reliability. But as I mentioned, the export controls and ITAR compliance programs are something that they're going to be looking for as they look to engage in business with you. And we get a lot of questions about this in my office, especially about re-export. So it is something that we applaud you for being here at these kinds of programs. There's a lot of these that are offered not only around here, but across the United States. It's really the first step in your export management and compliance to make sure that you are understanding what you're supposed to be doing. And then, you know, for our states like Washington and across the northern tier, you know, geographical proximity does play an important role in exporting to Canada. So a few things to keep in mind if you were going to be trying to get into Canada. They do need you to have a local partner. You will need representatives in more than one geographic location because the French-speaking part of Canada is very different than doing business in Vancouver, Canada. 2 distinctly different markets. As a matter of fact, she even points out the sensitivity to the French business climate and culture in Quebec as opposed to a place like Calgary or Vancouver. We have offices across Canada, as I mentioned, across the United States. And one of the things that she talked about was the attending the trade shows and the trade conferences. We do a lot of really fun things in Canada, as a matter of fact. If you want to sell to Bombardier, I call it our trade mission to Bombardier, where we'll take you up there for 2-3 days. We'll put you in tours and meetings and conferences and things like that. It's something that they do very, very well. A little bit of contact information, but more importantly, and it already has been mentioned today, export.gov is a really great place to go for all sorts of information. I know we've linked to BIS as well, as Larry pointed out. And then one thing, and I'm sorry, really sorry how that appears on the screen. On the slide, it does not appear that way. This is for all of you in any sector. I want to call attention to trade.gov top markets reports. And had I had a half an hour to speak, I would have gone through maybe the top 10 export markets for aerospace and defense. We have this for a number of different sectors. So, for example, you would go into these top market reports and you would get a ranking of France #1, Singapore #2, the UK #3, Canada #4, Germany #5, and so on. This is a really great place for you guys to do when you're looking to do your first tier, your first level of market research. The slides were not included in your packet because I just got Canada's yesterday and I've been out of town for weeks on end. So my apologies to not getting these to Emily in advance, but I'm happy to share it. She has it. If anybody wants it, we can email it after. All of our people across the world are first name dot last name at trade.gov. You can find us anywhere. And if you need to access any of the people in our worldwide network, just email me. I am always happy to provide introductions. I spend a lot of time providing introductions for companies who want to go to X market and need to know X person in an embassy or a consulate overseas. And I encourage you, when you travel overseas, do not stop by our embassy or consulate. Let me make an appointment for you to meet with either our senior commercial officer, who would be American Management, or even better, a person like Gina Vento, who is our locally engaged specialist. We're organized by industry sector. In those countries, some of those people have been around for a very long time. They know the industry, they know the landscape, and they know the people to introduce you to. So that is my two-hatted presentation, as much as I could do as the U.S. Department of Commerce in general, and a little snapshot into the market in Canada. Thank you.